Today's guest is Liberty Baldovino, and Liberty is also known as Youthful Granny, and she lives in the Philippines. She is my first Filipino podcast guest, and I can't be more excited to introduce you to her. She is somebody who she's a loves writing, and she's a content marketer. She's built a business focusing on writing ebooks, white papers, case studies, blogs, emails, and she creates content strategies for various clients. And she is amazing, starting her own business later in life, and she started in her 40s and her early 40s because she was really desperate financially, and all of her paychecks went to debt collectors, and she talks about that, and she wanted something more for her kids. And often that's what we do. We make sacrifices that we wouldn't normally make for ourselves, and we do it for our children. And now she's a living example for her children. In fact, one of her children works for her. And I think it's an amazing story of determination, of just resilience, and doing something that is scary, but still doing it, asking questions, being curious, and making something. And I love it. Her whole perspective is that she's like so excited about the things that are to come. So she wakes up every day, instead of worrying about debt collectors, thinking and being excited about her future. And isn't that cool? It's a cool place to live from. So let's get to the interview now, and you can meet Liberty. Welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Lives. And I am excited to have this guest because she has a not your average life, and she's a perfect fit for the podcast. And I heard about her from a mutual friend who is in a business mentorship with me. And he said, I have the perfect person, and she goes by Youthful Granny. And I was like, oh, sounds very interesting. So we hooked up through email, and this is Liberty Baldovino. And Liberty lives in, and I would love to know, Liberty, how you got your name, because I'm sure it came from somewhere that there's a reason for it. But she lives in the Philippines. And so I also think it would be very fascinating for you to talk about your life in the Philippines, because the Philippines is very different than living in America. Yep. And a lot of listeners are from Canada as well that follow me. But yeah, so I have a VA from the Philippines, and he's been with me for a couple of years. I have had some other VAs before him, but he's my first one that, I mean, he's like a rock star. And from the get-go, I loved him from the time he answered the ad that I posted, and he's become like a member of the family. And so I just love him so much. And so I love the Filipino people, because the Filipino people are very, very loyal and hardworking. And yes, I love them so much. So welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Lori. Thank you very much for this opportunity, first of all. That's what I wanted to say. And to everyone, I'm Liberty Baldovino. I'm also called the Youthful Granny in the Philippines. I have a Facebook group specifically for people my age. It's called Freelancing for the Young Ones, where I teach them, I arm them with the necessary skills for online jobs. Okay, so.
And you're not afraid to say how old you are, right?
I'm not afraid to say I'm 56. In fact, I tell family and friends that I'm waiting to be 60, because here in the Philippines, if you have a senior card, you get 30% discount on meds. And I am a diabetic. I have maintenance. So that's a huge savings. I'm going to get huge savings. Plus, here in the Philippines, senior citizens have free movie passes and a lot of other perks. So I can't wait to be 60.
That's 60.
Yes,
yeah, because here it's you have to be, I think, 65 to get a lot of the perks.
Oh,
yeah.
Here you only have to be 60
to
enjoy the privileges.
I need to look into it, though, because I think one of our grocery stores has a special day of the week where seniors get 10% off. And I think that I'm going to be 63 next month. So I think I might be qualified. I have to look into that.
No, you're 63. No.
Yes. Almost 62.
Okay. That's nice. That's great. That's great to know.
So you must be a grandmother as well.
Yes, I have 5 grandkids.
Oh, that's awesome.
The eldest is 10, and the youngest is still a baby. She's 6 months old.
Oh, that's so you're so it's very close to what I have 6. The oldest is 11 and the youngest is going to be a year next month. So yeah, we're very
Wow,
very yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So are you hoping for more, or
uh,
are you kind of like think this is it?
no, it depends on my kids. They're the ones who are making who are making the babies, not me.
Yeah, my kids have been very vocal that this is it. So yeah, they're
Okay,
not
yeah,
having any more.
but babies are adorable, no? Don't
Yes,
you
they
think?
are. Yes, they are. The 11-year-old, I love her to death, but she's entering that age where it's not so adorable anymore. You
Yeah.
know, little like preteen, but yeah, she's
Yeah.
yeah, more worried
They've
about
got
what her
their
friends think. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they've got their own minds already. They
yeah.
know what they want. They start to develop their preferences.
Mm, yeah, yeah. So you in the Philippines,
Mhm.
it's not like in the US. Your internet can go down easily. You
Oh my
have
god.
typhoons, which are hurricanes.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, you didn't get the
Yeah.
vaccines. He didn't. My VA said that the vaccines were like a year later than when we started getting them and having
Yes.
them available
Yes.
here. So, yeah, so a
Yes.
lot of things that we take for granted here in the United States
True.
are not something that you all don't have the advantage of. And so are there other
True.
things like, and I love the fact that there's this website that is you can find people from the Philippines to help you if you have a business. It's especially great for small business owners, even somebody who, like, I think about people who are, because I started in network marketing, and so I had people part-time helping me in network market, just with little tasks that I took too much time of my time. And so it's such a great and the people from the Philippines have a masterful English, and
Yes.
most of people, and you guys do speak different languages, but you have a mastery of the English language, which I
Mm.
also think is amazing. So yeah, do you want to speak to that at all? What's life like
Um,
in the Philippines?
life in the Philippines, it has a wide range. There are very rich people, and there are very poor people. There are
Mm,
homeless. One thing I think that establishes the difference between the U.S. or other countries from the Philippines is the treatment of homeless people. In the
mm,
U.S., the moms have what they call the food stamps, and
mm,
they have shelters. Here, homeless people are homeless.
mm.
So especially the old ones.
So there's no government subsidies or help
No
for, wow,
subsidies. No,
that's,
there are
yeah.
subsidies, but because of the huge population,
Mm,
the government cannot handle everything. And I don't know, maybe a bit of corruption or
mm. Yeah.
yes,
Your government.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it happens in almost all governments, or yeah, but
At
basically
some
there are a
point, I
lot of
think,
people.
yeah, at some point when you put people in power who uh, are in power for the wrong reasons, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people who want to be in power are the wrong kind of people. So our choices are limited. But yeah, I think that
True,
happens
true.
over
I
time.
agree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there, but unlike in the US,
Mhm.
I am proud of the Filipino family,
Mm,
because we're closely knit families. In fact, two of our children, the husband and I have three children. The two of them are living with us. That's why the grandkids are with us.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, and we have tightly knit families, and then children are raised. Most
Mm-hmm.
children are still raised to say po and opo, which is very cultural.
Mm-hmm. They're
It
raised
has been
what?
with
They're raised how?
they
What did you say?
it's saying po and opo. It's a way of being polite to elders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So for example, if you ask your grandkid if she or he has eaten, the grandkid will say, "Hindi pa po." It means not yet. And
Mm,
I don't think it has a translation in English. or any other language. That's what one thing I am very proud of. And I am very proud of raising my kids that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the
So
way I
so
was raised too.
you say it translates to not yet, but that doesn't seem like the most polite response.
Yes.
So I guess that's why you
Yeah.
say there's not a good translation, but it's a respectful response, I guess.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
it's different.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, there's no translation for po and opo,
Mm-hmm.
because in
Yeah.
English it's yes or no.
Or maybe it's no, the English would be the equivalent, maybe no, ma'am, because ma'am is kind of a
Yes.
respectful way of saying something
Yes.
to somebody who's older.
Yes.
But yeah, so you tell
Mm-hmm.
me about how you got into, so you do help people with writing, which
Mm-hmm.
speaks
Yes,
to
I
your
do.
mastery of the English language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how did you tell me about your past? How did you realize
Okay.
that there was this ability to get online and to
Mm-hmm.
create income and help other people and really have a different kind of life than you can have, because people in the Philippines don't get paid a lot and
True.
they're
That's
normal
true.
jobs. Yeah.
That's very true. You see, don't we say that the mother of all innovation is necessity?
Mm,
True?
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think the mother of all innovation is desperation,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
But some people, I will
Uh,
say, there are degrees of people that will accept,
mhm,
like I and you are probably very similar because we're both in this online world, but there's a degree that of desperation or necessity, that we won't like we won't get to that place where some people will just accept it and they'll
mhm,
be like, okay, this is just what I'm meant to do in the world. And I wasn't meant to have a lot. I wasn't meant to be something. And they accept that. And clearly you made things happen. You recognize,
yes.
yeah. And so I like that. I don't know
I
what
guess
do you know what it is about you that's different?
I guess one one thing is, looking back, it's how we were raised as children, because we weren't, during our time we weren't raised as most children are being raised now,
Mm-hmm.
that who are being so entitled, and parents tend to give everything.
Yeah.
We were raised to work,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever we want in life, correct?
Mm.
Yeah, regardless of our geographical locations. I think it was how
You mean
parents
just
raised their
the
children.
age, are because we're similar in age? Is that what you're speaking
Yes,
to? Yeah.
yes, yes. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
it was
Maybe
different. I do think it was
it
different.
was
Although
different.
my mother did say you need to have a job that makes money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she did put the money thing in my head, which kind of sent me down the wrong path. But yeah, we were not, I worked from as soon as I could drive my,
Oh,
I actually worked before I could drive my car because I had a
mm-hmm.
job that I could ride my horse to. And
No.
that's what I did is,
Work
yeah, yeah.
work here in the Philippines as children is means household chores. You need to
Yes,
help
yes.
around the
We had
house.
that. I had to make my bed every morning.
Yes,
Mhm.
and we took turns washing the dishes. That's without pay.
Yes, we didn't get,
That's
I
without
didn't get an
pay.
allowance.
No,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
no pay for doing the household chores. It's your duty. It's your
Mhm.
obligation. And
If
we
you
were
want
raised.
dinner, you
Yes.
better do your chores.
And then also, I think it's because we were not raised to give up easily.
Yeah.
We were raised to have I think the word grit before didn't exist in our dictionary way back then.
The word
But
what?
then grit,
Gr-
Grit,
Oh,
grit is
grid.
the term. Grit,
Uh-huh. Oh, grit,
Grit,
grit. Yes,
grit.
grit. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't in our dictionary before. Now, we were raised that way to have grit.
Yeah, there was a really good
No,
movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it. True
what?
Grit.
Which?
It was called True Grit. And I loved cowboy and Indian movies. And it was I'm pretty sure John Wayne was in it, was in the original one. They did a remake a few years ago. That was really good too, but it's a really good movie, True Grit. And it's about a
Mhm,
girl and it's a guy that takes a girl who's really tough under his wings. But yeah, so that
mhm.
reminded me of it. Maybe some of the listeners will remember that movie.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
remake
so
was
that.
really good too. The remake was really good, and I remember it was so sad because the horse died in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, look, I love animals,
Yeah.
horses, but anyways, yeah. So you were out of necessity, out of desperation. What were you doing before you transitioned into the online world and doing what you do? When, because I ask in the application for to be a guest, you said your transformation, kind of like the pivot that was really transformative, happened at 42 and you're 56 now. So
Okay.
what happened 14 years ago?
Okay. So for the I used to be a private school teacher. Not actually a teacher in the sense of being a teacher, but I was more of a piano and music
Mm,
instructress. And then I also, a later part, because I stayed in the same school for 17 years. In the later part, I think my school started to join journalism contests.
mm,
And as a child, I've always loved writing. In fact, my dream was to be a novelist, which
mm.
still needs to materialize in the
Yes,
future.
yes. I love having those
Who
goals and
knows?
dreams. Yes.
Yeah. So there. So once I think I saw the we call it school paper advisor doing the school paper, and I had my opinions. I
Ah,
had my
so the school
opinions.
paper advisor was kind of like a position at the school. Is that what it was?
It's yeah, but it's only a temporary position.
Okay.
Usually, the school
Hmm.
paper advisor services are utilized. It's utilized during press conferences, school press conferences, and
Mm.
then at 41, I still didn't know how to use the computer, Laurie. It
Oh.
was only at 42 when I learned how to use one. And
Oh.
that was only because the piano room, which was my room way back then, it was a huge room. So it was where the office, the owner of the school placed the computer for the office. So my office, my piano room, sir, was became the piano room come office of
Hmm.
the clerk. So there was a teacher, teacher Erica, and when you don't know something and you see someone who does that's something that you don't know yet, they look so smart to you, right?
Hmm.
So I said, "You look so smart, and I think you're doing something so smart. I don't even know how to use that computer because I was afraid because way back then, I get another 10 years ago, the computers available in the country then were the ones where you needed to use the floppy disk and
Yes.
you had DOS system.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you press the wrong button and you press the wrong command, poof goes your program, which was very, very expensive way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was afraid to touch a computer in my room there. And then my co-teacher said, "Don't worry, teacher. As long as you know how to open and as long as you know how to save files and put off the computer properly, you have no problem." Yes. And to that, I thank Microsoft Windows. I am not an affiliate, mind you.
Yeah.
But then,
Well, I love that you were afraid, but you still asked the question, and you still, when you find somebody that you're intrigued with what they're doing,
mhm,
and you approach them, and a lot of people just stop at like just the thought of
mhm.
being intrigued and not asking for help or going one step
Yeah.
further. And I love that you did that.
Yeah, because I really wanted to. I really wanted to. It has been, and I'm kind of stubborn. When I
Mm,
want to do something and I cannot do it, I will do my best to learn that. I will not stop.
yeah.
So I really everything I learned during those times, all self-study.
Mm,
I learned Microsoft Office Word. I learned how to navigate Google and other applications all by myself.
love that. So this
Yeah,
is
I
while
learned how to use
yeah.
WordPress.
So this was kind of like side learning while you're still doing your school
Yes, it
teaching
was
stuff.
side
Yeah.
learning.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
So did the ideas start to percolate Because I think once you get exposed to something and you're like
Yes.
intrigued by it, then it starts to
Yes.
generate thoughts of what this could
Mm-hmm.
be. Yeah. Mhm.
So I started to, since I already knew how to use the computer, and then my school had recognized that I had a penchant for writing. I became the school paper advisor, and I was sent to different seminars and workshops for writing for journalism. So off I went, and
You
then
manifested that dream from a young
yes,
child, even
I
though it wasn't
did.
writing novels, but it was
True.
to send you down that path in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I am
Yeah.
still leaving the door open for that
Yeah.
novel
Yeah. You got to
in
learn
the
how to
future.
write before you can write a novel, right? So this is just
Yes.
step A.
Yes, step A. And then but then that time the kids were already growing up. Two of our kids were in high school and one was in college. And
Mm.
with three growing kids who ate like tractors.
You must have boys or two
One
boys,
boy and two
one boy, two
girls.
girls. Yeah.
Yes.
And you were a young
And
mom, it sounds like. I was a young
uh
mom too. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
with a meager income,
Mm-hmm.
even with a combination of my income and the husband's income, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. We were buried in debt.
Mm.
So paydays didn't wasn't my payday. It was payday for the loan sharks and the
Mm.
people we owed money to. Yeah, when here in the Philippines you call that may pangalan na.
Mm.
Your pay already has names on it.
Mm. Yeah. That's tough. I mean, and it
Yes,
must
it's tough.
be, yeah, it must be frustrating, to
It
work hard and then,
was.
yeah, and feel like you can't like get,
Yeah.
you can't get your head above water.
It was very frustrating, and especially when the kids were asking for basic necessities
Yeah.
that we cannot afford.
Yeah.
And when they had school activities that they cannot attend simply because we did not have the funds to pay for their transportation to for the field trips or money to buy costumes for the school activities, and it hurt.
Yeah.
And as a mom, I know, as a mom,
Mm-hmm.
you will do what you can
Mm-hmm.
so that
Yep.
you can give that something to kids so that they won't be asking anymore. They
Yeah.
won't be frustrated anymore. So I did some research, and luckily I asked around. It was great. It was great, Lori. I asked around. I asked my friends. I even asked my friends who were living in the United States if their offices were hiring clerks online. And no, they didn't. I asked friends if no, until I asked my sister-in-law if she knew someone, and she said one of my friends, one of my classmates is selling an English proficiency course here in the Philippines. So I applied, and then the owner of the English proficiency course said, while you're not doing something, create a profile on Odesk, which is Upwork now. So it was
Upwork.
Odesk
Okay. Yeah.
before.
The Upwork is
Yes.
just for people to know it's a online kind of job
Yeah.
finding platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I did.
For
I did
freelancers
create.
mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, I created my profile. And then I used to the first rate that I asked was $11, and I was still working then. eleven
Mm-hmm.
dollars, and nobody hired me.
Mm.
Nobody hired me.
Mm-hmm.
My profile sat for 6 months, and
Mm-hmm.
then I checked profiles from other writers, and it said $1 per hour, $1 per article, and
Mm.
I wanted to earn the stars because Upwork back then work if
Like
you
referrals and if you like
yes,
Amazon, right? 5 stars
yes,
is the best type of thing.
reviews.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there. So I needed the reviews and the stars. So yes, I did go for $1 per hour. And then
Mm.
I guess it's the universe has been kind to me
Mm.
that I had clients who, upon knowing that I was asking for very low rates, and I think they were satisfied. They were more than satisfied with the work that I provided them. And they were the ones who raised my pay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I did that with, my VA. I've given him a couple of raises because yeah, it's you
Yeah.
want to keep them and you want them to be happy, and yeah, and they do good work, then they should be rewarded. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so I said, oh, so I can charge $4 per hour. Why don't I try $5 per hour? And then when I was hired, why don't I try $7 per hour
Mm-hmm.
or $10 per hour? Oh, somebody was hiring me because the positive feedback on my
Yes.
profile
Yes. Once you have
were piling up.
testimonials, yeah, it makes
Yes.
a big difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So there.
Yeah. That's
And
great.
then yeah, so that's my journey into
Uh-huh.
freelancing.
Yeah.
And then when I was already gaining some success, I knew of friends who didn't have jobs, classmates who didn't have jobs. Here in the Philippines, because here in the Philippines, if you talk about age discrimination, it's very what do you call this? It's very prevalent here.
Mm.
Classified ads tell you that there's age
Matter.
limit of 35 years old
Oh.
to apply to certain jobs.
Mm-hmm. So if you like kind of stir the pot and say, age discrimination, does that mean people kind of uh you know shutter you in terms of like, so you're not speaking, and or do they like, oh, I don't want to be known for age discrimination, and they actually will hire you? What
No,
kind of,
they won't
they,
hire you.
they won't hire you? Okay.
They
Yeah.
won't hire. It's very seldom that they do. And sometimes it happens that in promotions, they promote the young ones while the older
Hmm.
ones
Hmm.
yeah, it happens. I've got friends who were treated that way and not
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
thank goodness
in
for, onlinejobs.ph, because
yes,
that's the
exactly.
platform where you can find amazing people,
Yeah.
and you don't have to put your age on there, you know?
Yeah. Yes, as long as you can do the job, go ahead.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
tell me
there.
about, yeah. So you started, the pivot was caused because you were paying, when you had payday, you didn't have any money left for anything.
Yes, and the
Yeah,
kids were
and your
asking,
kids
and
kept getting into more debt. So that definitely
yes.
drives it. How fast, once you made the decision that you were going to make a change and you were going to go after something, you said you posted on Upwork, and at first nobody, and then you dropped your rates. And so how long till you started seeing kind of an upswing and started to pay off some of that debt and feel better about your life?
Oh, Lori, in fact, the first pay that I had in Upwork, because I was still teaching that time. So
Mm-hmm.
because I was afraid. I was afraid that if I resign, I will not have enough to support the family.
Yeah, you don't want to burn the boats yet. That's what they
Yes.
say.
So
Yeah.
so I got my first pay of $50. I was so happy. Oh my God, for a
Oh, I
teacher.
bet.
Yeah, so for a teacher who's earning 10,000 pesos a month.
Yeah, and what does that equate to? It's like crazy how, like,
Yes,
10
it's only $200.
a month. Yes. So
Yes.
so $200 a month, times that times 12. That's, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh
Can you imagine how
yeah.
little
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
So
earning? And then I
mhm,
got $50, which was a quarter,
yeah.
almost a quarter of what I was getting as a
And
teacher.
$50, was that for 50 hours? Because you started at
No, I wrote
$1.
an ebook. I wrote an
Oh, you
ebook.
wrote an ebook. Oh,
Yes,
and how much time?
a
Yeah.
50-page ebook.
Okay. Okay. So $1 a page. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
So
not
that didn't
bad.
take you a month, I presume. It didn't take you a month.
No,
So
it took me 2 months because remember that I was still working back then.
okay, so it took you 2 months, but you still, that's like, definitely adds to your, bottom line. So
Once I got the money, I took my youngest child to the grocery and I allowed her to get what she wanted
oh, that's so nice. Love that.
because she
Spending
will,
spree.
yeah, spending spree. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
that
right.
was
And
the
she was,
first
mommy, I
time.
want more of this. And so there you go, back to Upwork to do some more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started to feel when I was already getting clients from Upwork, stable clients. I got long-term contracts in Upwork. That's when I started to feel the change.
Mm,
Now today we have our own car and we were building our own house.
that's
And
amazing.
yes, and then of course we can now afford, the kids don't have although the kids don't ask from us anymore because they already have their own families, but it's the grandkids who ask us, and we
Yeah.
don't have to decline.
Yeah. So tell me how what you've done has influenced your kids. Like what has you showing up, doing the things that you needed to do, learning, being persistent, figuring it out. Like how has that transferred to your children? Do they see possibilities for themselves that they didn't see before?
I convinced them.
Mm, yeah. See,
I
that's the
really
other
show
reason.
them.
That's the other power of what
Yes,
you've done.
yes.
Yeah.
I show them the huge difference. My eldest son used
Mhm.
to work for a call center station, for a
Yeah.
call center BPO. So he
Yeah,
worked
I
there.
worked at AOL and we had a huge
Mm,
chat
yes.
service that was run out of the Philippines.
The
Yeah.
problem was he was living 50 kilometers away, usually 50 kilometers away from the call center,
Oh
because
my.
the house rentals are so expensive here.
Mm,
So they lived in the outlying areas of the city, and he has
mhm.
to travel every single day.
I assume public transportation that he
Yes,
had.
public
Oh,
transportation.
yeah.
And I really took pity on him because
Yeah.
yeah. And it also didn't work when I offered him to stay here because our place is nearer to the call center. It didn't work because he was always lonely. At times he was
Mm,
crying because he was apart from his family.
yeah. Yeah. So
Okay,
what
so
is
I
he doing
convinced him.
now? You convinced him to
Oh, here's my.
put,
If you have your virtual assistant, I
uh-huh.
have my very own virtual assistant who is my son.
That's
Now he
awesome.
now he's my assistant, and he helps me manage my courses.
My son-in-law is like my right-hand guy. Yeah, so I can relate to that. There's somebody in the
Nice.
family who's good and smart and can do like these things. It's
Yes.
like,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I'm still sometimes challenged with tech.
Hmm.
So he's my tech
Yeah.
assistant.
It's always good. Kids, I struggle with something. I was trying to learn
Yes.
reels on Instagram and I'm like,
Yes.
I can't figure this out. So like my daughter will send me a little video and I'm like, okay, I got
Mhm.
it. I mean, I can
Okay.
Google it, but then, there's like little intricacies that, sometimes
Yes.
it's until you use it and I have practice with it. You don't know. It's like those little bells and whistles and makes life a lot easier. So now I
And
feel like I'm a little bit of a reels wizard and for my age.
I
Yeah.
guess as we age, we grow a little impatient with the mundane stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
want everything faster.
Mm-hmm. You
We
think when
have
we get older, we
patience
want
for,
things, we have less patience. I have more patience with my grandkids.
oh,
Maybe,
of
yeah,
course, with
yeah,
patience,
less with
but with
myself.
but with mundane things, especially the ones related to work, where you have to work as efficiently as you can, then that's when I call my son.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
he does the tech
that's
stuff.
exciting.
So
Does he like what he's
yeah.
doing? Is he fulfilled in what he's doing, you think?
Yes, he loves the course. He's my assistant. He does everything, and of course, he can still have side jobs. He still has
Hmm.
part-time jobs from other clients. He has his
Hmm.
own clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, he sees what
Yes.
you've done and
Yeah.
he's going to run with that, I think, and make.
Yep.
So one of the questions that I think is a good one for you is what are your plans for the future?
My
Especially at
plans
this
for the
time of year,
future.
right? When we're thinking about
Yes.
what we are envisioning and what our desires
Lori,
are. And yeah.
I am a I am a planner aficionado, and I attend masterminds for, you know, whatever planning, goal planning. I have my coaches, I have my mentors.
Yeah.
This is who I want to become. You see that, Ariana Huffington?
Oh, wow. That's awesome. She bought AOL. It's the Huffington Post now. I
Yeah,
think. I think
and
that's what it
then
is. I don't know. I don't keep track anymore, but yeah.
Yes, and I have so my plans are all written here. I have a vision board here. So my plans in the future are, of course, the first thing is for my family to be rich and happy.
Mm,
That's the first
okay.
thing because at the end of the day, it will always be them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and then
Yes, I do a value exercise with my students, and
Mhm.
it was one I did at a mastermind event that it impacted me a lot, and it was a fun
Mhm.
exercise, and so I put it in my program, and you have to figure out what your values are, and
Mhm.
there's a way to do it, and you end up with one. You end up with one,
Yes.
and it's so fascinating, and people are always surprised through that exercise. But family is a lot of them. Yeah,
Yes, it's
yeah,
always
yeah.
family. And then plans for the future is I want to I mentioned my freelancing group for the young ones. So currently we do hold webinars weekly. I invite Filipino friends to guest
Mm-hmm.
and they teach different skills from SEO. We have monthly themes: SEO, 1 month SEO, 1 month copywriting, 1 month whatever.
Yeah. When you
But
say it's a Facebook group for young ones, so what is the definition of young ones? Because is it
young ones,
anyone
the
under your
ones
age? Yeah.
is ones ONCE,
Oh.
the young
Oh.
people of
Oh,
yesteryears.
young once. You're only young
Yes,
once. Oh,
yes, you're
okay.
only young ones.
Oh, got
Okay.
it. I am so sorry. I got that. Young ones. I thought you said young ones. Okay. That makes
So
sense.
it's made up of people 40 years old and
Okay.
above.
Okay.
I have I have members who are 70 plus.
That's
And I
awesome.
have I also have young members who are whose hopes are for their parents to be encouraged by me.
Yes. Yeah. I hope you
Okay.
share your story a lot because it is powerful and
Uh
what's possible, you know?
I've been interviewed several times over here in the Philippines.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, and I really hope I try to help as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So because as I went along the group, I realized that one of the problems why they cannot work online is the technology
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, my plan for the future for that group is to provide them with free trainings of the very basic things they have to learn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I think once you get over your fear of not knowing something and you prove to
mhm.
yourself it's possible to learn it. But it's
Yes.
funny because even new stuff, like my example with reels, I was so resistant to doing reels, and it wasn't until I heard that your content is just not going to be served if you're not using reels on Instagram. And so I'm
Yes.
like, okay,
Yes.
I have to learn it. And it was just a matter of doing it for a week and really sinking
Mhm.
myself into it. And at first it's slow and takes more time, but then once you get it, it's like, oh, why did I resist this for so long? Why do I resist this for so long? And yeah, so I think it's like pulling that band-aid off and getting kind of that one thing done and proving to yourself it's possible and you can learn anything. So, all right,
Yes.
so
True.
let's wrap up and let me know well, I think we've heard, but your story, but I would love for you to just end this with sharing what living a not your average life means to you. And I loved your answer. Do you remember what you put?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Um. So actually, this answer, one of my group members helped me answer this.
Mm,
Because for me, when you're living, I'm just living my life as I want to. So I want an answer that comes from the eyes of the people the people with me.
mm.
So this some
So how do
part
they
of the
view you
answer.
as not average? Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the answer. To me, living a not your average life means this came from me. Not your average life means waking up each day filled with excitement, No? Filled with
Y-
excitement about the things that are to come. I am so
Yes.
excited.
Yes. I
There
love
are so many
that. I
possibilities and
underlined
many.
it. I was like, yes, that's what we all want, to wake up filled with excitement.
Yes. Yes, because we some of us have kind of lost that excitement that spring
Yeah.
to our feet.
Because we're not doing what we love. Yeah.
Yes,
I
but
love
when you
that.
do what you love, because I
Hmm.
remember becoming a writer was one of my dreams, was my dream.
Yeah.
Of course, pessimism does set in, but I try my best to conquer it by focusing on the people I love.
Yeah. I love too. You say, I may be 56, but I still have that
Mhm,
spring in my step, ready for
mhm.
whatever and whenever. That is so
Yes.
cool. And don't you want that? Like when you think about your grandkids,
Mhm.
remembering, your youthful granny, remember youthful granny. That's how great for them to remember you, like somebody
Yes.
who has that energy and that excitement. It's amazing. Yeah. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here. I
Yeah.
loved
Thank you
getting to
to
know you. I
Lori.
loved your story.
Yes.
You're a very unique guest. I haven't had somebody like you, and you're
Uh-huh.
doing great things in the world. And yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori.
Let's keep
Bye
in touch.
bye. Yes.
Bye.
Let's. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraveragegrandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at Not Your Average Grandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own, not your average life.